All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
USA, let's go. Where is it? There we go, Brittany. If anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, we got just wrapped up the gold medal, women's Canada versus USA. What a game, OT. I'm sorry, Tambo. You more than likely probably have it when it comes to the guys. Hopefully not. Hoping to see that in the gold medal game, but let's go. The women's game. What a sick game that was. 2 minutes left. Pulled the goalie, got the job done. Yeah, I'm pumped. I'm also pumped. NBA is back. I know that is why people are tuning in and watching this. 7 games on the way back. First day back. We are back. Jordan, I appreciate you. We got Sean Sullivan, wins a lot. Deacon, Ricky in here. We got golf coming back after the suspended play. Life is good. Sports are back. NBA is back. Rio, how was your break? Probably much needed. You absolutely grind. So I imagine you had a little nice rest, but yeah, I'm excited for it to be back and a nice 7-game slate to kick it off.
Yeah, definitely had a nice little reset. Did a little bit of golfing, been moving a lot of stuff up to the new spot I was telling you about pre-show, so I'll be in a new location pretty soon. So yeah, pretty busy last couple of days, but yeah, definitely nice to get a little break there, a nice little reset, and just kind of reflect on the first half of the season and then get prepared for the second half, which I think is going to be a lot of what we saw in like the last 2 weeks heading up to the All-Star break, but just amplified. You got a lot of tanking implications, so definitely going to be difficult for some of these teams to break down, but definitely looking forward to it. And I got to kick it back to you. I know we already talked pre-show a little bit, but yeah, obviously you had a kid, so congratulations to you and Maddie. Very excited for you guys, but how you've been getting used to the dad life?
Yeah, I appreciate a lot of people in here. Yeah, little Tucker town. Tucker is the name. It was over Weston. It's great. I mean, what a blessing having a son as the first kid over here. I mean, obviously sleep goes down. I'm a big sleeper over here. I hope you're sleeping, bro. I am sleeping enough. Trying to get a nap in during the day, at night though, but that's the only negative. And yeah, it outweighs the positive, definitely outweighs the negative. So really cool stuff. He's doing great. He's healthy. And yeah, excited for him to keep growing over here. So very, very blessed. And I appreciate everyone in here saying congratulations. Appreciate you, Rio. Excited for you to meet him one of these days. And yeah, excited to, you're moving in your new spot. You have, when we were out there, Maddie and I last year, actually, I just got the notification. It was like a week ago to the day that we were out there watching some fights. But yeah, you showed us really, really sick spot. You had to do a lot of work on it though. So I'm excited when we do get out there to see what's up. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate all the congrats. Thank you. Yeah, actually, I wanted to ask you before you get into the slate about the tanking stuff. I mean, we haven't seen teams tank this early, at least in my memory. Like before the All-Star break, actively, your Utah Jazz actively tanking. Like it was, I believe, the Thursday right before the All-Star break. Like it was a close game against Portland, and they Ace Bailey, and then they had Bums pretty much to close out the game in a somewhat competitive game. I mean, I guess my question is, what's the right answer? Do you have a solution for what the NBA can do to prevent that? Because, I mean, that's pretty bad, in my opinion, for just the game itself. So any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm smarter than anybody that's making the decisions.
Well, right now, no one, I'll interrupt. No one's making any decision to prevent. I mean, $100K or $500K fine is pocket change for the number one pick. So they're not, in my opinion, doing nothing right now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I will say I've heard some really dumb ideas, and I think the stupidest one is like, I think it was Stan Van Gundy and some of these other media guys saying that there should just be no draft and it's just an open free agency, which would just be awful for the league because everybody that is coming into the league obviously wants to go to LA, they want to go to New York, they want to go to Miami. So I feel like that is the dumbest idea. I think an interesting idea that I've heard, which I think would be more fun as like a viewer of the NBA, was basically like a tournament to dictate the lottery odds, or not the lottery odds, but the standings towards the end of the season. I don't know if I think somebody said like soccer does something similar towards the end of the year where you get points at like against bad team. I don't know exactly how it works, but like a tournament towards the end of the year where all like the bottom 12 teams are in, and then if you get first place in the tournament, you get the number 1 overall pick, something along those lines. I don't know exactly how that would work, but I feel like that'd be the most exciting from the NBA viewership standpoint. Other than that, I feel like just keeping what you have is probably the best idea.
Yeah, I mean, man, like teams just tanking. Like you can't tanking before the All-Star break. I mean, that's next level bad in my opinion. It's clearly not going to get any better as the season goes. Obviously, we're talking DFS. Teams that do tank, the Pacers are on this slate. Like we'll talk about that. Maybe like in certain spots, you just stay away from that stuff because it's more uncertainty. However, when you look at it today and you sort by, granted they are favorites today, but when you sort by ownership, you do see a couple Pacers up top. So not too many Q tags, which is what you expect first day back from the All-Star break, but we do have a couple. Any other broad slate overview before we go game by game?
No, not really. I think that kind of covers it all.
All right, let's do it again. Appreciate everyone hanging out in chat. Hope everyone's doing well. 2 more shows we also have on tap today. PGA Showdown round 2. Not sure this will exactly stay at 8 p.m. Eastern. Maybe it will, but obviously with the delay, I doubt these guys finish up today. But be on the lookout for that. Just subscribe to the YouTube channel. You'll get notified when we go live every time. And if you're in the Discord, if you're not a member, definitely recommend heading over to Shipping Nation. We have a daily pass that doesn't include Discord. It does include SaberSim and everything else for $9, but $10 more gets you 5 days for $19. NASCAR's back. Shout out to the game. Eric does great work. I was in the NASCAR streets. Might actually continue on Sundays. It's pretty fun. Big prizes as well. MMA Saturdays, NASCAR Sundays, NHL will be back at the Olympics. Of course, NBA going on, MLB right around the corner. So we'd love to have you at the Nation. Best Discord around. SaberSim is our partner. Multiple different options can get as low as $9. We would love to have you. Send the bottom 2 teams of the G League.
We're gonna be getting 2 new teams pretty soon. It sounds like.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. What are your thoughts on that? And then we'll get into it.
Yeah, I think that is what I was talking about. But I think people were saying if you do that towards the end of the season, like not the full season, so just those teams that are in like the bottom 10 or bottom 12 would get like the point system. I think it's a little too European for the NBA, but
yeah, that makes sense. All right, we'll get right into it. The first game of the slates going from left to right on SaberSim. We got the Houston Rockets and the Charlotte Hornets. 4.5 point favorites are the Rockets, 217.5 total in this one. Injuries on the Rockets side, absolutely nothing. Injuries on the Charlotte side, no Diabate, no Bridges, no Kobe White. Diabate and Bridges were thinking they were in the UFC trying to throw down. That was very interesting right before the All-Star break. But, I mean, the opposite of 2 tanking teams. Love to see Charlotte coming on. I'm going to keep saying it, but Con Knipple is the freaking man. Would love him on my team any day of the week. And I like you, Sean Sullivan, but no chance you are taking LaMelo Ball over Con Knipple to start your team. I remember that comment, but yeah, a little biased Wisconsinite over here. 2 good teams playing, or 2 good teams that have been winning. That doesn't always translate to DFS though. So what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think that kind of sums it up. Definitely think that this game will be a little bit more competitive than it was the last time these teams faced off. I think Houston only lost by 10, but it was a little like kind of one of those backdoor cover type situations where they had all the bums in at the end. Yeah, I expect a definitely closer game, but I think the biggest news in this game are from these teams, all the drama circulating both these teams. You saw the Kevin Durant burner Twitter account stuff.
No, I didn't. I've been pretty busy. I haven't been staying up to date on too much of this stuff, I will admit.
That's true. Yeah, you have had a big week. But yeah, I don't know if it was true or not, but there's just like a lot of talk about like KD and these burner accounts that he's had on Twitter, just talking shit about his teammates.
I know back in the day, yeah, he got caught really bad on one of his burners. I didn't know I thought after like he got absolutely outed and that one time it was so obvious that he might put those away, but man, that's something.
Yeah. I don't know. It's probably not true, but it's still funny. And then obviously like the LaMelo Ball got into a car accident yesterday, but wasn't bad enough to where he got injured or anything, but definitely think there'll be some legal action taking place against him because he just basically ran into a dude in the other lane straight on.
I
hopped
saw
out
a
of
video
his.
of him like last year, just like skirting off
Yeah,
of like. I mean, there's
that's what
video of him
everybody
already driving
posted.
reckless. Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
they posted that right underneath. Like it was just bound to happen.
yeah.
But
Come
yeah,
on.
yeah, gotta be smarter. That's what I mean. He's had a lot of money for a long time, has all these crazy
Yeah.
cars. I don't think he's too mad about losing his custom Hummer. But yeah, anyways, you kind of summed it up. This is I think it's gonna be a slower paced game, definitely lower scoring. There were some decent fantasy scores the last time these teams faced off, and I do think that it's gonna be more competitive. So I think you could make the case for some of these guys. It's a different matchup this time for the two guys that we were playing the last time the Rockets and the Hornets faced off, which was Sengun and KD. It's been a lot of Miles Bridges on Kevin Durant. Now you're going to be swapping him out for probably Grant Williams and Brandon Miller. It was a little bit more Brandon Miller the last time these teams met, but I think Grant Williams kind of matches up a little bit better there. And then for Sengun, Diabate really limited him last game, only held him to 27 DK points. Now you got Kalkbrenner and like a mixture of PJ Hall and maybe even some Grant Williams against him. I think that he could bounce back here. So I think those are the two guys I'm really focusing in on the Rocket side. Would be a max one of those two. Don't really have a lot of interest in Amen Thompson, but I think Jabari and Tari are fine at their price tags. Jabari's been playing sneakily pretty well like this entire month. He has 3 straight double-doubles, shooting 42% from deep in the month of February. So a little bit of upside for him at 6.6K. And then Tari, I think that the All-Star break really helps him out a ton because he was been in and out of the lineup, but did play 30 to 34 minutes in each of his last 3 games. So I think he's very much in play here at 6.3K. Only issue with these guys, they only have single eligibility, so only shooting guard, only power forward for Tari and Jabari. I think they're kind of secondary options. Not really super excited about anything on Houston in particular. On the Hornets side, definitely a lot more usage to go around with Miles Bridges out, and then definitely some more rebounding to go around with Diabate out. Amen Thompson on LaMelo is kind of a spot I'd prefer to get away from. He's held LaMelo to just 15.8 points per 75 possessions in their head-to-head matchups over the last 2 seasons. So pretty bad numbers for LaMelo, but where he can make up some of that is with shot volume. He's been taking a ton of threes lately, and Houston can be a little bit more vulnerable against pick-and-roll heavy guards, which LaMelo definitely is. I think it remains to be seen what the minutes are going to look like for LaMelo in the second half of the season because obviously the Hornets are looking to make a push in the East for playoff positioning. So I think it'd be smart to get him some more minutes, more than 32 that he has been seeing. But if the form is working, they're just kind of keeping him limited, then maybe they keep him at 32. But I think that there will be some games where you get a spike in minutes if he's playing well. I'm not sure if this is going to be that game. After LaMelo, I think it's probably Brandon Miller I would prefer over LaMelo in a nutshell. I think that he's just a better permanent producer with those two guys off the court. Bridges and Diabate has a pretty meaningful increase to his usage, rebounding, and assist rates with those guys off the court. If you look at the game log for him, last game against Houston looks really bad, but I was looking at the rotation stuff. He picked up 3 fouls in the first quarter and then it didn't play in the entire second quarter and then picked up a 4th foul early in the third quarter and then finished the last 13 minutes of the game to get him to 21 minutes. So it was probably the worst run out you could possibly have for somebody like him. Would not expect that to happen again here. So I'm pretty interested in Brandon Miller here at 8K. And then your guy Khan at 7.1K is in play. I don't like the matchup for him. He sees a really meaningful bump to his assist numbers with Bridges and Diabate off the court this season, up 10 points. And then the per minute numbers are not that great, though, under 1 fantasy point per minute, which is not very good for somebody at 7.1K. And it's not a good matchup for 3-point shooters. He can do a little bit of everything, though. Does have games where he can fill up the stat sheet. I just don't think that this is the spot for Khan. So I think I would have Miller as my number 1 option, then LaMelo, and then Khan, but a pretty big gap between Khan and those other 2 guys. And then lastly, Grant Williams at 4K looks like a really solid value option. Played 32 minutes in his first start for the Hornets for Miles Bridges. Only 25.5 DK points, but that actually looks pretty good when you consider that he shot just 1 for 9 from the field. So anything more probably gets him above 30 DK points. And then don't think you need to go to Kalkbrenner or PJ Hall. I think that the PJ Hall game log is kind of chasey. I just don't really think that he's that great of a player. Could kind of get exposed in this matchup.
Center is also pretty loaded on this slate, so I think that'd be a mistake as well. I really like your Brandon Miller shout. I think Sabersim, just looking at the minutes, I feel like they got pretty much all of these guys underprojected in terms of minutes. Do you agree? 28
Yes.
Grant Williams, 29 LaMelo, 32 Brandon Miller, 32 Khan, like by like 3, maybe 4 minutes it seems, which
Yeah,
I mean that's
I
pretty
agree.
significant.
Yeah.
I love your Brandon Miller show.
Yeah, I was just looking at like how they're spreading them out. I think they're a little high in like the Trey Mans and Salons. I feel like that should probably go to Miller and Khan, and probably even more to Grant Williams. So I agree with you there. That's a good note.
Yeah. Houston side feels pretty difficult to get to, but yeah, Charlotte, I don't mind getting like one of LaMelo or one of Brandon Miller with Grant Williams would be fine. There's not really, again, not much Q-tag stuff on this slate, and 4 of the 7 games do lock right away at 7 Eastern, so it's definitely not a slate, in my opinion, that you should be like forcing a backload or anything. If you like KD, play KD. If you like Miller, Khan, whatever, you can play them. But yeah, Brandon Miller, definitely my favorite when talking it through. We'll keep it rolling. Next game on the slate, the Atlanta Hawks and the Philadelphia 76ers. Very close spread in this one. We are looking at 1.5 point favorites for Philly. Big boy total, 240.5, the biggest on the slate. Injury news on the Atlanta side. No injuries to talk about. Well, Kuminga's not going to be playing, but Philly, no Joel Embiid. When you sort by ownership, yeah, this game is most definitely getting ownership. And again, kind of what I was saying, there's no worry to backload on this slate. If you like anyone, you plug them in and you play them, in my opinion. So yeah, it looks to be the game of the night. The Pacers stuff looks a little interesting too, but yeah, I'm excited for this one. What do you see?
Yeah, I agree. I think that if there was a spot that you wanted to get over the field on in terms of like a game stack, this is clearly the number one option. Highest over under on the slate. I believe the closest spread to 1.5 points. So you could run into a situation, and we did see it earlier this year, where these teams went into double overtime. So that's not. Obviously, it's hard to account for that, but it's definitely within the range of outcomes for these teams that feel like they match up pretty well here. So definitely a lot to like here. I almost feel like it's a min 1 to 3 of this game. Like I really think you got to get into this one. I feel like we're going to get a couple scores in this one that are probably optimal. So definitely going to get over the field. But defensively, Philly ranks 16th on the season pre-All-Star break. But over the last 4 games have been really bad. 3rd worst in defense, 2nd worst in offense. So really struggling. And kind of the same for the Hawks. Hawks are 17th in defense on the season, but bottom 5 in defense over the last 4 games. So definitely a good spot to attack. So I agree with the game total here. Both teams kind of lean more of being a rim funnel. Atlanta's bottom 3, Philly's bottom 5 there. Sixers are the 2nd worst rebounding team in the NBA, and then Atlanta is bottom 6 in transition defense. And then the Sixers are 6th worst in pick and roll defense. Starting with the Atlanta side, I really like the spot for Jalen Johnson here. He saw a lot of Dominic Barlow in the first matchup, and I was watching some of the head-to-head matchups, some clips there. He was just blowing by him every single time. Jalen's played really well this season. Obviously, they're kind of looking at him as the centerpiece of the Hawks moving forward. And in 14 games since the Trae Young trade, he's averaging 53.3 DraftKings points per game. He's topped 60 DK points 6 times in those 4 games. So really good hit rate for a guy that's priced at 10.4K. I think that he's got a ton of upside here, potentially highest score on the slate between him and Wemby. I feel like those are the 2 clear options, but I really like Jalen here, potential core play for me. Outside of that, it's a little bit thinner. I think you can make the case for the Alexander Walker, Dyson Daniel, and CJ McCollum grouping. Of those 3 guys, I prefer CJ and Dyson over Nah, and I think CJ is probably the one I prefer the most of. Just price adjusted, I feel like he's got the best point per dollar upside there. It's a really good matchup for him against a team that struggles against pick and roll, so I think that's a kind of a plus for his matchup. And then for Dyson, I kind of like these guys both at ownership, but for Dyson, the minutes have been really bad, and I think people are looking at that in the game logs. His ownership is really, really low, but this is a spot where he could definitely pop off for more scoring than usual because Philly has such a bad rim defense. Dyson's taken no 3-pointers. He's looking to get to the basket. I think that there's going to be more scoring opportunity for Dyson here tonight. And I think you should definitely keep Nickeil Alexander-Walker in the player pool because he has popped off for 50-plus DK points a couple times since the Trae Young trade. So does have good upside, but I'm in the CJ McCollum, Dyson Daniels grouping over Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I would be a max 2 of that group for sure. And then I would probably say if I have Jalen Johnson, I don't want more than 1 of those 3 guys. I feel like that would cover the rules that I want to make for the Hawks.
Any Ricochet I see him on the
No.
DVP rank. Yeah, all right.
Never.
All right. Yeah. All right.
Sorry.
I just sometimes like to say his name, though, now that I know how to pronounce it after a couple years.
Yeah, definitely not interested in Ricochet. Okongwu kind of, I don't know, he's going to get lost in the shuffle. There's a lot of pretty good center options tonight. I just don't really see it for him. I think that he's going to lose. Like, his role is not that great when you have a fully healthy team. CJ takes away from him. Jalen definitely takes away from him. He does benefit from no Embiid tonight because there'll be basically no foul risk on whoever he's defending. So I think that is good for him, but I just prefer some of these other center options tonight. You're looking at like Darion Sharp and Paul Reed that are projecting better than him right now. So I just don't think it's a little too cute to go to Okongwu personally. On the Philly side, Max is going to get a ton of ownership, and I think rightfully so. I mean, obviously no Embiid is great for him. Does see a usage rate increase. He's been okay without Embiid this season, averaging 47 DK points per game, just 1.3 fantasy points per minute. So I think that he should be priced a little bit cheaper with that considered. It's also not a great matchup. It was a mixture of Dyson Daniels and Nickeil Alexander-Walker on Tyrese Maxey in the matchup earlier this season. Dyson has held Maxey to 13.2 points per 75 possessions, but he did go off for 44, 7, and 9 in the double overtime game for 66.3 DK points, but took him 52 minutes to hit that mark. So not really that great fantasy point per minute numbers for Maxey in this matchup. I feel like he's more of an underweight stance here. You can obviously make the case for him being one of the better spend up options with no Embiid, no Paul George, but I don't know. There's a lot working against him tonight, I think. We'll get to some of the other point guards later. Like, I do prefer Cade over him. Maybe Brunson for a little bit cheaper, but I think Maxey's totally fine. It definitely makes a lot of sense if you're playing heavily into this game. I'll probably be more focused on like the VJ Edgecombe, Kelly Oubre, Quentin Grimes grouping, because I think that they're just a little bit safer at their salaries. I do like the spot for VJ here. He's going to see a lot of Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and he's been really good against him, averaging 20.8 points per 75, went off for 39.5 DK points the last time these teams met. He's kind of like Khan in the sense that he's not a great per minute producer, just 0.9 fantasy points per minute without Embiid and Paul George this season. But he does have a really, really high minutes floor and ceiling. So I could see him get into like 38, 40. And it's kind of easy to make the case for him being 3K cheaper than Tyrese Maxey. Same thing for Oubre, just a guy that could play a ton, not a great per minute producer, but can get hot from deep and is a pretty solid rebounder. So maybe it's one of those games where he flirts with a double-double. And then Quentin Grimes at 4.2K is kind of a standout value play on this slate where we don't have a ton of really cheap value. So I like him a good bit. Should have a pretty solid role off the bench with Jared McCain now in OKC and then no Paul George. And then Bona and Drummond are going to split most of the center minutes. And I think if you're playing one, it's probably Drummond. He's just the better fantasy option, and he's not so much more expensive that it's impossible to get to him. But I definitely have interest in both Bona and Drummond tonight. Bona's only 3.3K, so that's kind of a good spot for him. But I think a guy in the next game is going to project a little bit better.
Barlow, I'm seeing him on the DVP rankings. Don't want to give it all away, but Barlow, Watford, any of these options for value?
No, I think Barlow's okay. 4K is a decent price for him. He should play a good bit. Just not somebody that really ever pops off the page for me. I feel like people are still chasing that 57-point game against the Clippers earlier this month.
Quentin Grimes or Grant Williams if having to choose. Obviously different positions, but salaries right there if you were to decide in a vacuum.
I would probably say Grant. I just think that the role is a little bit better for him. Grimes has to compete with Maxey, VJ, Oubre, like a pretty big gap there for me.
You said min 1 in this game. I don't know if you said max 3, but you're definitely fine getting 3. Just when sorting by point per dollar, like the top 7 guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are all showing Philly. Like if you're playing just Jalen Johnson, like you want a piece of Philly. Like when you're saying min 1, is it almost min 1 Philly, and then you're fine getting like an Atlanta piece or something like that? Because I mean they just look super strong to like get 0 of them and just play 1 Hawk piece.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I feel like if you're like the optimizer is probably going to be looking at jam like 3 Philly guys tonight. It seems like I haven't run any dry just like projections in the optimizer just yet.
Definitely 2-3 is showing a decent bit for sure.
Yeah, it feels like if you're gonna play 3, you should probably play 1 or 2 Atlanta guys. Like say if 3 Philly, like one of those top 4 guys between Jalen, CJ, and Dyson. And then you can throw a Kongu in there too, I guess.
Yeah, I don't hate a Kongu. I mean, if the game does go over 240.5 and it stays somewhat competitive, it's a way to get different and chalkier builds. Like you're kind of flipping. A lot of people will be spending down at center and he's shown upside. So just that way alone. You said you prefer Cade, maybe Brunson. I take it Jalen Johnson and Wemby all over Maxey too as spends at ownership.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit closer between Brunson and Tyrese. But I do like Cade, Jalen, and Wemby over Maxey tonight.
All right. And yeah, those are just looking at the slate. Those are like, there's only 3 players priced above 10K. Wemby 10.5, Johnson 10.4, Cade 10.3, and then Maxey's the next at 10.6. And I do think Maxey will be the highest owned of all of them as a spend on this slate. So yeah, interesting. BJ looks really strong. Definitely my favorite Philly piece in this game. And Jalen Johnson, I mean, he continues to print it. Mock, I know he won the Millie. I can't remember. I think Jalen Johnson was on that. He was like 11% on that Wednesday or something. Like he's not going to be quite that low owned, but man, he's so good in a great game environment. So definitely probably the best game to get to. And we're going to talk about the 2 best, in my opinion, in terms of DFS, going to the Pacers and the Wizards, but really curious to hear your take, obviously, with tanking implications. Pacers 2.5 point favorites. Not sure how many times will be favorites to close the year. 232.5 total in this one. On the Indy side, no Siakam. Zubac still will not be playing from the trade. And then they got TJ McConnell, Micah Potter, Aaron Nesmith, all questionable. On the Washington side, no Sarr, and that is it for them. Obviously, we will get these Q tags for the Pacers stuff, though. So obviously important Q tags, 3 of them, all guys that are going to play meaningful minutes and have a role. So thankfully we don't have to do guesswork, but yeah, I don't know if you want to start Wizard side because it's probably easier to break down right now. But yeah, it looks like the 2 best games in terms of DFS back to back.
Yeah, for sure. I just think it's funny that the Pacers just kind of said fuck you to the NBA and just said we're going to continue to tank. I don't know what the situation is with Pascal Siakam. It says personal, and I feel like a lot of times when there's a personal issue, it's like usually something serious. So I feel like if he didn't have something personal going on, he's probably playing. But Zubac, they traded for him, never really had any intentions of playing him, I don't think. So it's just kind of funny. But Nembhard will be in. Then you got the Q tags on Nesmith, Potter, and TJ. I think whenever we get the news on Quentin Jackson would be an indicator of what they're going to do with McConnell. Quentin Jackson is questionable with the G League 2-way contract issue. Not issue, just that's what his listing is. And then if he got upgraded, then I would imagine that means TJ probably going to sit. But yeah, I'll start with the Wizards side. I do think that it's a little bit easier to break down. I think actually both sides are a little bit more complicated just because I don't think that we have any sort of confidence in what these rotations are going to look like. There's a good chance that both teams run out 10 to 12-man rotations. I mean, they have enough bodies to do that for sure. So it's going to be definitely a headache for both these teams. But the tanking implications, this one are obviously huge. Indy is at 15 wins. Washington is at 14 wins. I mean, this would be a really big game for either team to lose. I think it's a little bit like it's bigger for Indiana because if they drop outside of the top 4, then their pick goes to the Clippers. I forgot what the trade was, like top 4 protected and then 10 through 30. So if it falls in that like 5 to 9 range, then they lose their pick. And still, there's a lot of really, really good players in the draft in that after the 4th pick. So I definitely think that they are going to try really, really hard to lose this game. Washington has a little bit more wiggle room, but they obviously would want to lose. They're trying to catch the Kings for the worst record. Go Click said it. Race to the bottom for sure.
So annoying. Both these teams trying to lose. But I mean, when you look at just salaries, it doesn't mean you can ignore it. The highest price guy in this game, 7.3K, 7K, and then everyone else is below 6. So I mean, it feels like someone's got to get there with their salary.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the cheap guys, and I feel like the field is onto that as well. Like it feels like you're getting a little bit. Well, Nemhard is getting a decent amount of ownership, like double digits, and then so that's I don't know. That's usually one I'd like to avoid. I just don't think that he usually has the upside. Oh, sorry. I'll start with the Wizards. I was kind of backtracking a little bit. No Keyshawn George for me. Should have a really good role with all these guys out, but I just don't see him playing enough minutes. I think they'll be very, very limited with how much they play Keyshawn George, how much they play Trey Johnson and Bub Carrington, even Justin Champagnie. All those guys have been guys I think that they view that can contribute to winning, which is not what they want here. So I think the second half could get really messy. We even saw a game heading into the All-Star break where it was the bench players playing like starter minutes. I think Will Riley had like a 14-minute rotation or something like that. So it's going to get really gross. I'm not really looking to get to any of those guys priced 5.2K and up. Koulibaly is a little bit more confusing because there was a couple games where he's playing 34 to 36 minutes and then just played 24 minutes against Cleveland. But all three of their last three games heading into the All-Star breaks were pretty big blowouts. So I don't really know how they view Koulibaly right now, but I think that if I'm choosing anybody from 4.9K and up, it's going to be Koulibaly. But I think there's three guys in particular I'm really focusing in on the Wizards. One is Tristan Vukcevic. He's going to be one of the chalkier plays on the slate, but for good reason. He's shown really solid permanent upside. It's a really good matchup for him. He's averaging 23.3 DK points per game, so as a starter. And the only guy behind him is Anthony Gill, really, who's not even like a NBA talent, just kind of a guy that they have in their roster. I don't think Vooch is going to get like 30 minutes here, but 22 to 25 is definitely enough for him to pay off his price tag in this matchup. Will Riley is interesting because he's borderline game script proofed. He's going to be playing normal minutes in the rotation, whether the game's close or not. But if it does blow out, he's probably in that blowout lineup as well. There's been a couple times this season where he's shown really good ceiling and been very fantasy relevant, but the floor is really, really low if he's not hitting shots. And he's just not a very good player in my eyes. But he's going up against a really bad Pacers defense. So I'm pretty into him at 4.4K with small forward, power forward eligibility. And then the last guy I'll mention is Jameer Watkins. I think that he's very intriguing at low ownership if it does hold. He's been playing a lot over the last 4 games, averaging 33.3 minutes per game, 11.8 points per game, 1.8 assists, 3.5 rebounds. Looks like he's a really solid rebounder as well for his position, and he's a slashing wing, so not a guy that's going to be dependent on the shot. He's going to be looking to get to the basket. Pacers one of the worst rim defenses. So I think that he could put up a pretty solid score here. So those are 3 guys I'm looking at on the Wizards side. On the Pacers side, kind of already mentioned it. I don't really have a ton of interest in Nemhard at 7.3K. There's really good point guard options above him, and there might be some below him as well. Obviously a great matchup, but he's going to be capped at like 30, 32 minutes. Probably enough for him to potentially pay off his price tag, but I'm just going to be looking elsewhere. This could be a game where Indy would really want to lose. So I'm just not going to go to any guy that's going to be contributing to winning. So no Nemhard for me. I think that probably takes out Neesmith as well, and he's getting ownership. That's a pretty easy X out for me. I'm really focusing on the front court guys. So Jarris Walker, Jay Huff, and Micah Potter are the 3 guys I have the most interest in. I think Potter's probably the best from a points per dollar standpoint at just 3.9K. Don't know how real his questionable tag is. He's been listed for a while, but has been playing full minutes. So I feel like if he's playing tonight, he's going to be playing 25 minutes, which is really good for his price tag. And I think Jarris Walker has a pretty appealing upside at 5.9K. Huff is just a power forward center that makes a lot work. So I'm okay with all 3 of those guys, but definitely going to keep an eye on the questionable tags. All these G Leaguers are questionable. A couple probables as well. So we'll see what happens with who's in or out.
Are you fine playing like 4 pieces in this game? Walker, Potter, Huff, and then Vuk or Riley or something? Does that feel like too much?
I think 3 is probably okay. 4 might
obviously if you're doing that, you're playing Wemby or Maxey or like it's a stars and scrubs build that way. So I guess that was more of the question than avoiding the mid tier, which does have some solid options, but 3 max mainly.
Yeah, probably. Like I definitely would be fine with Vukcevic and Potter if he's in, and then like one of Huff, Walker, Riley or Watkins, something like that.
If TJ were to miss, does that do anything with Nembhard, or like none of these injuries do because they don't want to win, and like he's playing 32 regardless of any of these injuries?
Yeah, I think that's it. I don't think it does enough, really.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I think this is on the slate, just like sorting by ownership. Like Neesmith, assuming he plays, going to get ownership. Nembhard going to get ownership. That could be one of the spots. It sounds like a big stand. If those guys do fail, decent amount of the field will be going down. So, yeah, I like your call, and plenty of value in this game. And we already talked about pretty much all the value on the slate. Grant Williams, Philly guys, and then Pacers, Washington. Like, I'm not seeing too much. Oh, Day'Ron Sharpe we'll talk about in the next game. But really, we talked about the most important DFS games and where a lot of the value will come from. We will take it to a very big spread. Tough to get to much in DFS, in my opinion. 15.5-point favorites are the Cavs over the Nets. 229.5 total in this one. No Nicholas Claxton for the Nets. No Tomlin for the Cavs. Yeah, no Claxton is why Day'Ron Sharpe is popping quite a bit. Keep talking about the center position, though, and why like Okongwu is a super contrarian option. There's talks about Drummond, Bona, Huff, Vuk, now Sharpe. Like a lot of lineups will have two centers on this slate. Outside of Day'Ron Sharpe, and I'm curious to hear your take on him. If they're down 25, is he going to be in? But feels pretty tough to get to like a Donovan Mitchell. I mean, man, he's got to really do something in that spend up range. So, yeah, what are you doing in this one?
Yeah, with the Cavs, definitely going to be really hard to get to them here. I think that there's a good chance somebody has a good game because they have the highest team total on the slate, and it's a really good matchup against Brooklyn. I just don't know if it's going to be enough. I definitely have interest in Donovan and James Harden in particular because Evan Mobley coming back, I think, does hurt the upside of Jared Allen, who's now all the way up to 7.1K. The offense has been really good for the Cavs with Harden on the court. Obviously, the defense got a little bit worse, but I think getting Evan Mobley back will help out all around. I don't really know. I think it's probably a better spot for Donovan Mitchell. The Nets are a team that just really, really looks to take away the pick and roll. That's kind of James Harden, his bread and butter on offense. I could see him having 12, 13 assists, but the scoring may not be that great. But that should help basically everybody else who's not on ball as much. So Donovan Mitchell could have a ton of open looks. I don't think that they're going to really be looking to leave Donovan Mitchell open a lot, but could be matched up against some really, really weak guard defenders. And if they are selling out to take away the pick and roll, that could help him. I think that Mobley and Allen have good scoring upside for the times that they're on the court, but just probably not playing full minutes. So I'm probably going to leave it to just Mitchell and Harden as the guys I'm playing on Cleveland and just hope that they do enough in 32 minutes, or maybe the Nets can keep it close enough and they get to full minutes, but I don't really have a lot of confidence there. On the Nets side of things, there's only three guys I'm really looking to play here. I think it's kind of surprising that Michael Porter Jr. is getting any sort of ownership at 8.6K, but I guess I don't know, the slate feels a little bit smaller than it actually is. But there's just no reason for them to run him out there for 36, 38 minutes that we were seeing earlier in the season. I mean, it's going to be a race to losing games for Brooklyn because they're kind of in that mix. They're at 15 losses. So definitely have a chance to get into the bottom two, bottom three-ish if they keep losing. Michael Porter Jr. is too good for them to really be throwing games away like that. So I think that he's probably going to be fairly limited moving forward. Also missed a few games heading into the All-Star break. No MPJ for me, but I do think Day'Ron Sharpe is a pretty solid option at 5.9K, averaging 37 DK points per game as a starter this season, fresh off a 50.5 DK outing against Indy last game. Obviously, matchup is a lot tougher. Not one that's impossible to put up solid scores against. But yeah, I do worry a little bit about the blowout. I think that if he is not out there in blowout, it's probably going to be Danny Wolf or Noah Clowney, one of those guys. But should probably get 28 minutes from him regardless on the low end. I think that 30 plus is definitely within the range of outcomes though. And then Yegor Demon and Nolan Traore are the two other guys that I'm considering here at 4.9 and 4.6K. Yegor has point guard, shooting guard eligibility, just point guard for Traore, but the role has been a lot better for Traore over the last 5 games. Been on the ball a lot more. He's averaging over 12 potential assists per game over his last 5. And over those last 5, Yegor's numbers have trended down, mainly the on-ball role. His points per game have been up a little bit. But I do think that those two are negatively correlated. It's going to be one or the other that's handling the ball for most of the game. So max one of those two guys. And I would probably say max two of Brooklyn overall. I think that's it. Yeah, I don't really know where else to go with the Cleveland stuff. Because I think they're going to do well. Just tough to see these guys paying off their price tags.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. Like, even if Don Mitchell gets you 55, which would be a great game, it's not necessarily going to bury you on this slate. I feel like the downside is a lot greater than the upside. Shout out to our man Mark F. 1% Demon or 2% in the 888 before the All-Star break. Took second for 40K. What a call there. So I don't got too much more after that. Not a game I really want to get into much. But yeah, if you want Rory, Demon on top of Day'Ron Sharp, that's fine. But man, center is completely loaded. Going to another pretty strong option, the New York Knicks and the Detroit Pistons. 4.5 point favorites of the Knicks, 219.5 total in this one. No injured news on the Knicks side to note. And then, yeah, Isaiah Stewart, Jalen Duren, both suspended, part of that suspension or that brawl with Diabate and Bridges. Paul Reed, as you can see, another center option that people will play. Again, keep saying it, but a lot of lineups, probably two center builds on this slate. Curious to hear your take on Towns. If you can flip the build and get a little contrarian at center and get up to him. You did mention Brunson a little earlier. You mentioned Cade. Two spend-ups on the slate will be somewhat contrarian off of the Tyrese Maxeys. I do think Jalen Johnson probably comes in higher owned than both of them as well. But, yeah, two good teams, close spread. Should be a good real-life basketball game.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of thought that the last time these teams faced, but Detroit did blow them out. Knicks were shorthanded, I believe. I know OG missed that game. I think Cat might have missed that game as well. But they'll be fully healthy here. Jose Alvarado's been playing great. And I think that there's definitely a chance that they get the revenge here. They are favored at home, but I just feel like they are probably set up pretty well to win here. They also added Jeremy Sochan a week or two ago, and I think that they want to get a look at him in the second unit. He should be probably taking over the Diawara spot in the rotation. I know we got a couple Knicks guys in our Discord, Wardo and Parabay, if you guys have any thoughts there. I know Wardo's pretty plugged in with the Knicks, but yeah, I feel like they definitely went out to get him for a reason. I think that they needed some depth. I don't know what role it is that he's going to fill. He's kind of I guess just kind of a defensive guy that can play make sometimes, but terrible shooter. Not really.
What about
great.
Jose Alvarado's game in 18 minutes, though? 37.5 usage. I mean, dude just absolutely nuked.
Yeah, he's been killing. He's been great for them. I love that pickup for the Knicks. I think that he's going to be huge in the playoffs. Just home games, I can already see it, like him making a play where he, gets like a steal and a fast break, gets another steal like right after that when he does the little thing where he hides off in the corner. Yep. I can already see it.
Yeah, it brings energy. Always want a guy like that on your squad.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that this game I do have some interest in, mainly in the spend ups, and then obviously Paul Reed. But defensively, these are two of the better defenses in the league. Detroit is second. Knicks are 12th. Detroit is 9th in offense. Knicks are 3rd in offense. So kind of an offsetting thing right there. The main way that you want to beat Detroit is with 3-point shooting. They've been a little bit vulnerable there. They've kind of held pretty much everywhere else. When you take off Duren and Stewart off the court, I think Paul Reed is kind of a underrated defender. So not a huge boost to the offense for the Knicks in particular there, but slightly boost because Beef Stew is a really good defender. Then Jalen Duren is obviously just a freak athlete at the center position. For the Knicks, it's really just two areas that they kind of can give up points at times. Pick and roll has been an issue for them, but OG coming back I think helps them. And then obviously the 3-point defense was an area that they were really vulnerable earlier in the season. Detroit doesn't have a lot of great 3-point shooters. I think that they can take that away, which kind of gets me onto Cade at 10.3K. I think that he's going to do a lot of the heavy lifting here. Just with not having a ton of great secondary options behind him. He's been pretty good against OG and Mikal Bridges, whichever one it is that they put on him. He's done pretty good against. He's averaging just under 50 DK points per game over the last 2 seasons and should benefit a ton from the game being closer. I think we get full 36, 38 minutes from him. So I do think if I'm deciding between Maxey and Cade, obviously it's a pretty big price difference, but I'd be much more interested in getting up to Cade at 10.3K than I would Maxey. Both have pretty tough matchups. The game environment is a lot better for Tyrese Maxey, but I just think that Cade has a better better floor for sure, and then a slightly more appealing ceiling.
It feels light on his minutes as well, 34 and a half.
Yeah, he should be like 36, I think.
I mean, man, this series, I know on a different note, but last year in the playoffs, these two teams, when they match up, they're usually fun games.
Yeah, for sure. I think that there's I don't know if you can call it a rivalry just yet, but I feel like they match up really well, and there's probably a lot of motivation for both these teams to beat each other. Obviously, two of the better teams in the East, so that has a lot to do with it, but I just feel like they match up really well. So after Cade, it's pretty much just Paul Reed, 5.7K. I think that he did not get a big enough price increase. Should be playing 30-plus minutes here again. I think in a couple of the games that Stewart and Dern have missed, he's been at like the 30 to 33-minute mark in all of those games. And the matchup, I think, is a little bit tougher just because Cat is pretty good at drawing fouls. But Paul Reed is just a really, really good per-minute producer, and 5.7K is just too cheap for a guy that's probably playing 30-plus. So he's one of the better center options, and I have nothing negative to say about him in particular. Tobias Harris, fine as a last man in, never a guy that's super exciting. That's probably it, though. Just Cade and Paul Reed for me on the Detroit side. Knicks side, Brunson is going to see a really tough matchup in Asar Thompson, but we have seen him post some really good games against him, mainly when he can get Asar into foul trouble and kind of be matched up with some weaker defenders behind him. But in the last 3 games, Brunson has failed to top 30 DK points against the Pistons. Not fully off of him. I do think you can make the case for Brunson over Tyrese Maxey just because he's a little bit cheaper, and it's kind of a similar matchup, close spread as well. So I think you can make the case there, but it's definitely close. And you kind of alluded to it in the beginning of this game. You could flip the builds and get up to Cat at 8K. He's been playing really well coming into the All-Star break, back-to-back 20-point double-doubles, and a little bit of a softer matchup with Paul Reed, although not really a cakewalk. So I think that you could definitely get to some Cat. I mean, the price is getting really, really low for him. There's been a couple of times where he's been really close to some massive games, but kind of got shut down due to blowout and other factors. Like the game against Philly, he could have gone for 60-plus in that one. Much softer matchup because I don't know if Embiid was playing. I don't think Embiid was playing in that game, but similar situation here. And then the offense for the Knicks is going to be a lot more efficient now that OG is back. Just looking at the numbers on-off with OG, it's a lot better, obviously, with him on the court. So I think that just overall should help the Knicks offensively, but don't really have interest in OG or Hart here. I think Mikal Bridges is somewhat sneaky. I was looking at the usage numbers for Mikal the last time that these teams faced off. He was up to 34%. Rounding up, it was 33.7%, but I think that they definitely were emphasizing getting the ball out of Cat and Brunson's hands and letting Mikal be the guy that beats them. And if he can get hot from 3, it's a pretty good matchup for him. So I kind of have a little bit of interest in Mikal here. I think that does it. I think you can play Jose Alvarado, but I feel like with OG back, the minutes are probably coming down.
Yeah, no, I agree. Man, it's just, like you said, 2 good defensive teams, 2 good offensive teams as well. But, this feels like it'll be a playoff atmosphere. These dudes are actually going to be, you're talking about the Hawks and Philly. I mean, these transition points, just how fast the game will be played, Indiana, Washington, just feels like a lot less defense will be played in some of these games, which makes me not as interested. I think my favorite, I don't mind your Bridges shout at very low ownership, but maybe Cat. And I would be lying if I said I love Cat because you need a really good game for him. The opportunity cost at center is big. I think my favorite would just be Paul Reed, Cade, both of them fine, or just play one and then move on. Man, Tobias is never a fun click on a 7-game slate with decently strong value and a pretty strong mid-tier. So, we talked about the best games in my opinion. This next game is pretty solid. But yeah, it's great real life game. Not my favorite in DFS by any means. Before we do get to the next game, we got 2 games left. I just want to show off, if you're not a member at Shippin' Nation, how you can join. Very easy. ShippinNation.com. It'll bring you to this menu right down here. Join the nation. Then you can see all of our different options. Daily pass, as low as $9, you can get in with SaberSim, all the sports. For $10 extra, though, the best value, you get 5 days. $19, you get Discord, you get SaberSim. And again, NASCAR is back. Daytona, some nice wins last week for the nation. Great job by Eric. MMA, an awesome card, being Big Marley. We'll be talking some fights tonight. 14 of them. Prizes are massive in the MMA streets. Shout out to Dartsman taking down 25K last week. And of course, NBA, NHL will be back in a little bit. And PGA, best team in the business, showdown content as well. Tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, you can get that as well. Prizes are good. We would love to have you. Again, if you do know you want to be with us for the month annually, the cheaper it gets for the longer you stay. But we'd love to have you at the Nation. Best Discord around, best community. And yeah, shout out to SaberSim, our partner as well. 2 games left. Next one is, I don't know, a little interesting in my opinion. I think it's better than the Knicks-Detroit game. Definitely better than the Cavs and the Nets. We got the Raptors and the Chicago Bulls. We are looking at a 6.5-point favorites for the Raptors, 233.5 total in this one. Only injury on the Toronto side, Sandro Mamushvili is questionable. No injuries to note on the Chicago side. Sorting by value, RJ Barrett is looking pretty good. Sorting by ownership, only RJ Barrett getting some. Can you make a case for BI, for Scotty, for some quickly as contrarian spends? And then, yeah, what are your thoughts on the Bulls side?
You missed a couple of syllables in Chandro's name.
Sandro Mamu's Philly. I don't know. I didn't meet him. I got a picture with him when he was a Milwaukee Buck. Him and Jordan Wara. For anyone
oh
out
yeah,
there
you love Jordan. He was a hooper. I forgot what happened to him.
I mean, he's just a head case. He doesn't really try much on D. Him and Bud didn't like each other, but yeah, I mean, when he was in the game, an absolute sniper. So yeah, him and I was at the bar, and Mamu and Wara were there. So yeah, we were talking to him a bit, but yeah, I don't know where Wara is doing in life. I'm about to look it up. People are chirping. Yeah, I just call him Mamu, but I tried when I saw it. Repeat the last name and then take it away in this game.
Mamu Kalashvili. It's like kind of like Marab. I think they might be from the same area, honestly.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, War could snipe. Just allergic to playing defense. Oh my god. People are no, that's not true. But the joke, Colin, he's been around for a while. But yeah, take it away. Keep going.
Yeah, I think a lot of the fantasy appeal from this game comes from the Toronto side. It's going to be, I mean, if there was any team that's going to be the most of a headache to project for minutes, it's going to be Chicago. They have all these guards that they're introducing. You got Giddey coming back, Trey Jones coming back. Now Jalen Smith is coming back as well. So it's going to be really gross. It's probably max 1 for Chicago here. I just don't see how you can feel confident in any of these guys. Like Colin Sexton is probably the best at 5.2K, just cheap and has shown a pretty solid role. I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna just wait and see on the Bulls stuff. Like I think there'll be better times throughout the season when they're playing a less competitive team and Giddey and Jalen Smith and Trey Jones. Some of these other guys will be sitting and we can get back into like the Ivies, Sextons, Dillingham. Like I think I missed out on like the Yabu and Nick Richards plays, missed some of those slates. So yeah, pretty easy to X out most of Chicago and just be a max 1 there. But Toronto is definitely more appealing. Kind of surprised at the spread, only being 6.5 in favor of Toronto. It feels like a lot of these Chicago games have been close. I don't remember if it was a show I did with Matt or with you before the All-Star break, but I was just seeing that Chicago was only like 6 or 7 point underdogs. They end up getting blown out. I feel like that could be the case here, but I'm not smarter than Vegas, so I'll just assume that the game is close enough where these Raptor guys play their full minutes, which makes all of Scotty Barnes, Ingram, Quickly, and RJ Barrett very much in play here. I would say that RJ Barrett, probably the best points per dollar option at 6.3K. Feels like his price is just a little bit too cheap, and the role and matchup and all that is really good here. The time off should definitely benefit him the most. He was a guy that was in and out of the lineup a little bit banged up heading into the All-Star break. The Bulls play with pace. They're below average transition defense, which sets up really well for RJ Barrett. So I think that he's probably the safest option of these guys, but I think that Scotty Barnes has really, really appealing upside here. The Bulls are bottom 2 in turnover percentage, one of the worst rim. I believe they're still dead last in rim defense as well. So there's a lot of ways that he could post a really solid stat line. And he's been pretty close to some massive games, kind of flirting with that triple-double upside that we love to see. So 9.1K for him seems like a pretty solid option as like a pivot off of Jalen Johnson in a similar role, but a little bit like not as good of a role as Jalen. But I think the thing that's most exciting was the bottom 2 turnover percentage for Chicago, because I think where you really start to access a big ceiling from Scotty Barnes is when he gets, 3 steals, 4 blocks, something like that. We saw against Indy, another team that was turnover prone with how thin they were at the guard position. He had 4 blocks and 2 steals, 64 DK points. Could see something like that happening here, where he just gets a lot of easy buckets after steals and blocks. So like him, I think Ingram is definitely in play too. He played 35 minutes again, or 35 minutes the last time the Bulls and the Raptors faced off. A really good matchup for him as well. Put up 53 DK points. I think that he's going to have little to no resistance scoring the ball here. So he's generally my least favorite Raptors player to play in DFS, but the prices are close enough between him and Emmanuel Quickly that I do prefer Ingram over Quickly here. I think that's probably it. I don't know if I'm ready to play Jakob Poeltl yet. The price is really low, but I think that he's going to be extremely limited for the time being. They got really good minutes from Sandro and Colin Murray-Boyles and even Trace Jackson-Davis in the minutes or the games that Poeltl were missing. So I don't think that they need to be running him out there for 30-plus minutes anytime soon.
I mean, if I'm the Raptors, I'm playing Colin Murray-Boyles a lot more minutes than, whatever he was playing with Jakob back. And Jakob's price, like he's just in the range of Huff and Reed and Vuk. He has to like outscore most of them in a vacuum. I'd much rather just try and flip the build, I think, with Cat Okongwu if you are trying to get different at center. But yeah, both side looks like a pretty easy fade. But yeah, all 4 of those guys in play. And RJ's the only one, like you said, best point per dollar. It shows ownership is following there as well. But Scotty, Ingram quickly can get you a little different on the slate. I want to shout out, did in the chat, but man, $5 into 38K yesterday in a parlay. Shout out to Ricky. That's some awesome stuff. Very, very tough to do. All right, last game of the night. Phoenix Suns and the San Antonio Spurs. 8.5-point favorites are the Spurs. 230.5 total in this one. On the Spurs side, no injuries to talk about. For Phoenix, Dylan Brooks suspension, I believe. Went over the technical. The 15 technicals, yeah. And then midday downgrade for Grayson. That's really interesting because this game is on an island at 8:30. Most of the plays will lock at 7 Eastern. So you have to like go out of your way, in my opinion. But if you get that news, D-Book at 8:3 and Gillespie at 6:6, I think in chalky lineups make a lot of sense. But if Grayson plays, you're not drawing dead, but you're really not loving your spot when you click them. So, yeah, curious to hear your take on the Grayson midday downgrade and what that does for this game.
Yeah, he was dealing with a knee injury before the All-Star break, and this is an ankle injury. So, brand new injury listing. I feel like you got to imagine he's missing tonight. Hopefully get a little bit more clarification on that heading into the slate, but I'd imagine he misses the game. So I'd probably start with whatever projections you make with him out. Who that would benefit, I think you're probably getting Jordan Goodwin into the starting lineup. I think he makes the most sense. But I would not be surprised if they go to Jalen Green. I think that now that they've had enough games together and he's getting healthier, hopefully, he's been kind of plagued with the hamstring injury. But they said that they want to eventually have him starting. Maybe it happens tonight, not sure. Definitely think that he'd be a guy to keep an eye on in the second half of the season as a guy that's going to see more minutes, and we know what type of upside he has, at least from a scoring perspective. Still, the price is not – I don't really get what DraftKings is doing with the pricing of the Suns, really. But
that's a tough click.
Yeah.
Especially if you're wrong. If Grayson somehow played, you're not drawing dead, but you really hate your spot.
Yeah, at least if you're – I don't know if I would really be considering Jalen Green, but if you did, you can just drop down to Gillespie if you have him at guard. You probably just don't play – I probably wouldn't play any of these guys in except for Booker. I think you're probably safe playing him at point guard, shooting guard if you skip out on any of the guys before. But anybody in the secondary spots like Goodwin, Jalen Green, Gillespie, give yourself as much flexibility if Grayson Allen does get ruled in. Yeah. But yeah, on the Sun side, there's really from a matchup perspective, nothing really stands out here in a big way. Both these teams have been really, really solid defensively. I think that the one area that you could take advantage of on the Sun against the Suns is scoring around the basket because Mark Williams has really never been that great of a defender. I think Iguodala is a much better defender, and maybe he even plays more. I'm not sure who they would prefer in this matchup against Wemby, but it almost feels like Iguodala matches up a little bit better, just a guy that's a little bit more agile and athletic, at least from just an agility standpoint. Mark Williams is a bigger body, so maybe he can kind of outstrength Wemby. But I think that you do want to attack the Suns on the interior. Nothing really from the Spurs side. They're very rock solid defensively. I prefer Devin Booker if just using one guy in the Suns. He's obviously going to get the most ownership because we know what type of role he has, but should be pretty good from a usage standpoint with Devin Booker out because we know that Booker can just take over possessions at times. Dylan Brooks can take over possessions at times. So not having him in there should benefit all these guys in a pretty big way, but Booker in particular. Been tough to get ceiling games from Booker this season. I don't know if he's even like what his high is. Maybe I know he went for maybe like 55, 58 once or twice this season, but in general been pretty tough to find ceiling games from him. But now that he's 8.3K, I think that might be one of the lower prices we've seen from him this season. Point guard, shooting guard eligibility makes a ton of sense in lineups where you're building more in the mid tier. So I think he's okay.
You think that's because Dylan Brooks has been so good on the offensive end and Grayson Allen and just they're buying into team ball where he's just, the Suns have way overachieved this year. They're playing competitive. So he's playing, not his role more, but they're playing more team ball than the ISO stuff that they were playing with KD, which isn't necessarily good for DFS, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. Just think that they've kind of changed their scheme. It's not a lot of what we've seen before. A lot of other guys are mixing in on ball, and Booker's even talked about his minutes coming down a lot. Like he was saying, it's weird not playing full first quarter rotations anymore. So I think that they are just kind of buying in. So pretty cool to see. I think people expect them to be pretty bad this season, but new coach, new ownership over the last few years. I think that everybody's really bought in for Phoenix.
Yeah, I agree.
But I would be giving a boost to Gillespie, be giving a boost to Goodwin, but although he's up to 5.7K, that's a tougher click. I think Mark Williams would be pretty interesting because he's got, really strong per minute numbers when you start to take away some of these guys. Small sample, but without Brooks and Grayson Allen, he's up to 1.46 fantasy points per minute. That's better than both Day'Ron Sharpe and Paul Reed. So if you hit right on the minutes, because one, you don't really know what the minutes can be like for Mark Williams. He can range from like 20 to 31. So it really just depends how well he's matched up against Wemby, how he's doing against him. But he's a guy that could pop off for a pretty big game at really, really low ownership as a pivot off of those other guys who are cheaper than him and also project better. So I think that he's kind of interesting, but it's pretty thin for the Phoenix stuff. And even the Suns too. The Spurs don't have a ton of interest outside of Wemby. I feel like Wemby is probably underowned and a really solid contrarian spend-up option, but we just don't really have a ton of value plays, and people are going to be going to Paul Reed and Vucevic and Day'Ron Sharpe instead of Wemby and some of the other centers that we mentioned. But I don't know. Wemby's motivated, like all the All-Star break stuff and the All-Star game. Everybody was talking about him, how he was super locked in, and they lost. I feel like he's a guy that will play with a chip on his shoulder, even something as meaningless as an All-Star game. But the minutes are going to be really good for him moving forward. I think that any sort of minutes limitation that we were seeing pre-All-Star break is probably off now. So I think he's pretty safe for like 33, 34. And he's easily the best point per minute producer on the slate. So he's getting a little bit overlooked with those other center options that are much cheaper. I do like Wemby a good bit here. I don't really know how the builds look with him because you do have to get pretty creative with your value plays. But Dylan Harper is a guy that could fit in as a value play. He's been playing really well leading up to the All-Star break. Over the last six games, he's averaging 29 DK points per game. So done very, very well. Don't really have too much interest in De'Aaron Fox or Stephon Castle here. Just think that they're priced up enough where it's tougher to hit a true ceiling game, and it's not a great matchup for either of them in particular.
Mute donkey. Great breakdown. Looking at one of the comments, FanDuel. I know we didn't. A lot of stuff's kind of similar on FanDuel as it is to DraftKings, but the Jalen Green price tag, where is it? Right here,
4,600. I saw.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts? Obviously, completely different. What are your thoughts plugging him in? Just hoping Grayson's out.
Yeah, I'd definitely be much more willing to do it over there. It's different. You're playing a different game on FanDuel because he doesn't score that great over there. Doesn't really do anything with steals or blocks. So you really need a hyper efficient scoring night.
He is point guard, shooting guard eligible though, which is nice. Probably more likely to play him at shooting guard, but like Nembhard is going to be very popular over there. Maxey, like if you do want to fade some of the chalk, maybe Jalen Green's a little interesting. Gillespie, I think, will be one to get a decent amount of ownership, can only get a lot stronger on FanDuel, only 5,600. So, I mean, yeah, you play him and Grayson's in. He's still fine. If he's out, he looks like one of the better value plays on the slate. You got to get center right on FanDuel. So just looking at just a couple of the differences. But other than that, I think, I mean, it's pretty similar. People are going to play the Pacers stuff. They're going to play the Philly stuff. The Hawks is interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think you broke down the slate really well. Oh, Jordan Nwora playing Nigerian professional basketball for anyone interested what Nwora is doing out there. I got really not too much more to add. Booker or Paulo?
I don't even are they even playing tonight?
No. Maybe they're playing on hold on. Are they on the FanDuel slate?
No, it's the same slate on FanDuel.
Yeah, it's the same slate. They're in the after hours, the night slate. Yeah, I really got not too much more to add. Any final thoughts for you?
No, I was just kind of catching up to the live chat. Missed some of these comments, but yeah, nothing really else. Good to be back doing shows. I believe we have a pretty full slate tomorrow as well. A couple teams that are playing tonight are on a back-to-back as well, so keep that in mind. I believe it's Indy and Washington play each other tomorrow, so it's the baseball series.
Okay.
Cleveland, Charlotte back-to-back. Atlanta's also on a back-to-back.
I like that baseball series. We'll be talking some baseball pretty soon before we know it. I know you like baseball. Great year for you in the MLB streets last year. Excited for that time. But yeah, you got to monitor the Pacers news. That's at 7 Eastern though, so you will get that before lock. Otherwise, it looks pretty straightforward for the injury department. Rio have all of his stuff up. NBA core report. You can check out his core plays as well as our man Matt, our man Ham, cash report myself, the Stone, of course, slate plan. You will get Rio on there. Does a great breakdown the upper tier, mid tier, lower tier. He's on that Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So even if he's not on a show, you can check that out. But 7 days a week, all of our NBA content and the DVP rankings, pretty new. Can sort it by season long or the last 2 weeks as well. And again, you can get in as low as $9 per day, 5 days, $19. Gets you SaberSim, gets you Discord. You get NBA content, PGA Showdown content, MMA, and NASCAR, and NHL will be back after the Olympics. So, yeah, people think this is a downtime for sports with no NFL. Obviously, already missing NFL, but hey, plenty of money to be made. Prizes are great still in the NBA streets. Rio, I will let you get us on out of here. Final words, and then yeah, you hit the outro. I'll hit the button, but you hit the whatever you want to say.
All right, so you caught me off guard here. Yeah, last thing I'll say to our guy Ham had a little procedure, so it'll be me and Matt tomorrow, and then I believe Matt has got most of, if not all, the weekend content. So shout out to our guy Ham. Hopefully he's recovering well. Nothing too serious, but yeah, he'll be out for the next couple of days. But yeah, good luck tonight, everyone. We'll catch you tomorrow. Hopefully you guys as golfers are doing better than mine are. And yeah,
hey, I'll interrupt Rio. Shout out to $12,500 last week in the golf street. So you can afford to give some back. Let some other people win there, but now it's your turn to get the outro.
All right. Yeah, good luck. Be safe. Peace.
Peace.